Hello everyone, from the Novedge team, welcome to today's webinar. The webinar is about rendering inside SketchUp, Thea for SketchUp, and architectural rendering. Join us for an introduction to Thea for SketchUp and see all the powerful features and ease of use that Thea offers. This webinar will guide you through material and light creation, interactive rendering in SketchUp view, and environment setup using specialized independent plugins. Today's presenter, George Gliatis, is a 3D artist that joined the Thea Render team in 2015. He's now working as an application specialist for the Thea Render products, providing tutorials and support for end users. And let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's need. Come visit our website at novedge.com. And also, I would like to make an announcement. I don't know if you know this, but Solid Iris, maker of Thea Render, was recently purchased by Solid Thinking, makers of Evolve and Inspire, just to mention some of their products. Solid Thinking is behind a great upcoming event called Converge 2017. Converge 2017 is a conference happening in LA. And what I want to tell you is that you are all invited. And if you want to join the conference and spend the day learning about the latest 3D technologies and sharing the experience with like-minded people in the world of designs, use the coupon code Novedge when you register, and your registration fee will be waived. You're welcome and feel free to go. It's a great event, and tell us all about it afterwards. And for more daily software news and other promotions, you can always find Novedge on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Coming up next week, working remotely with Vectorworks. And last but not least, today's webinar is free and is being recorded live. And if you want to rewatch it, just find the Novedge channel on YouTube or Vimeo, and the recording will be uploaded there till the end of Google. Okay, and now I'm going to stop talking and let George take the lead and the screen away from me. Thank you, George.
Hello, Barbara.
Yes.
Hello,
yes.
Everybody. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, and I can see your screen. Take it away, George.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being with us in this webinar. It's users that never tried Thea will find it interesting, and also users that have tried Thea but not the full potentials of the software. So I would like to start with a very quick introduction to the Thea Render engine. The Thea Render engine has three types of engine: the unbiased, biased, and the GPU plus CPU engine called Presto. The unbiased engine is the state-of-the-art and highly optimized render engine. The biased engine is based on field mapping and final gathering techniques that give user full control of all the features at the expense of setup time. And our engine, our GPU plus CPU engine called Presto, which we will be using throughout this webinar. The Presto engine will use all the available computing power of your system, all your GPUs and CPUs. It has been designed for very fast interactive rendering. It's physically based, using physically accurate materials that obey the laws of physics. It has instant feedback with interactive rendering, and it provides production for final rendering. It has two variants, Presto AO and Presto MC. The AO variant, Presto AO, has been designed for fast interactivity, while Presto MC for true photorealistic images. It has minimal parameters, meaning less time to spend on setting up the render settings. Presto AO uses ambient occlusion to mimic a part of the GI, giving very fast interactive feedback, and it can even be used for final renderings. Presto MC, on the other hand, it can be considered as an unbiased-like engine. It uses the logic of an unbiased engine, but with extra tuning that reduces render times, but also adds bias in the final result. That can be reduced by increasing the tracing depth of the scene. It's a truly photorealistic engine due to its unbiased-like nature. A feature of the Thea Render is its material lab. It's physically based. Materials do not violate any laws of physics. It's being developed on an analytical physical framework. It's layer-based. Layers can be stacked one on top of the other or mixed side by side. It has a unique material scheme that represents the anatomy of a material. Like in this example, it's a car paint material. The bottom-based layer is the paint, the car paint. On top of that, it's a layer with flakes. And of course, on top of that, we have the coating for the final car paint material. You can create advanced materials using different substrates, the layers, basic, glossy, SSS, among others. And they can be mixed based on the layer weight. Finally, as you can see to the right, we have the texture lab that can mix different textures together. You can use it to tone map any texture. And of course, Thea for SketchUp comes along with Thea Studio. It has a common interface for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Its use is for it can be considered as a full stager. You import your model, you stage your scene with materials, lights, cameras, and you produce final renderings. It has an OpenGL viewport that can be turned into interactive rendering. It has the darkroom for production rendering, and of course the advanced material editor along with the texture lab. There is also support for animation. It supports object, light, and camera animation, and it has automations for walkthrough and turntable animations. So after this quick intro for Thea Render, we can start seeing it in action inside SketchUp. So let's start. I would like to say a few things about the interface, Thea for SketchUp's interface. The philosophy behind it is to keep it simple, like in like the philosophy of SketchUp. So what you see is only 3 icons. The first icon is the Thea tool window, which gives access to camera settings, the final resolution, depth of field parameters, among other things. In here, you can also select materials from the scene using the Thea cursor that you see. Every time you open the Thea tool, the cursor, the mouse cursor, turns into the Thea cursor that adds more to the properties of Thea Render, how it works. You can also create lights, point lights like Omni, spotlights, IS lights, and projector lights, and you can change its parameters when selected. The second icon is the Thea browser. The Thea browser provides access to pre-installed content coming along with Thea Studio, like materials in categories, all of them, models, and skies. One very convenient way to use this browser is that it can also tell you if something is missing from the scene, an asset or a model or a texture, anything. And you can use it to save the SKB file along with any asset, texture, IBL image, or model in a zip file that can be transferred to a colleague of yours and work together. So moving on to the last icon, this is the Thea rendering window. The Thea rendering window is where all the rendering happens. It provides access to the render engines. You can select the render engine from the drop-down, and it allows you to work either in interactive mode that will start rendering in SketchUp view. It allows you to post-process your rendering while rendering or after it has been finished. It has access for environment settings like enabling or disabling the Thea Sky, Thea Sun, adding image-based lighting, and also we'll see them later, all these, or the new fog feature. Channels, and of course animation. It supports scene animation with the generic profile, and this list gets populated when you have more animation plugins like Fredo's Animator or Sketch Physics. So let's go on and start working on our project. One of the most unique features of Thea for SketchUp is the fact that it can start rendering interactively right in the SketchUp view. To do that, we can start by selecting an engine that supports interactive rendering like Presto AO or Presto MC, and have this interactive checkbox enabled. So if I press on the Start button, we will start seeing Thea Render in action right in the scene. So a nice addition to this in SketchUp view rendering is the fact that we have several display modes. You can use the in SketchUp window, which is the current one that we see. It renders right in the viewport. Or we can use one of the three display modes, like the SketchUp with edges. This allows you to see Thea Render output along with the hidden style that SketchUp has. So this is pretty convenient when you want to see the final rendering while modeling or making changes to your scene, like I'm doing right now. So this is a pretty convenient way of both seeing and working with SketchUp. Now, the rest of the two display modes here are more, I could say, artistic. We have the blended with SketchUp, which is best when used with dark backgrounds, dark style backgrounds. And also we have the multiplied with SketchUp. This one, when used with white background with hidden line, can give different styles, and it's very nice. So one of the features of SketchUp while rendering in the SketchUp view is the ability to region render right in the SketchUp view. And to do that, we can do this with the Thea cursor. So I can hold down Shift and left mouse button, and now I have region renders. And I can focus on areas that I would like to see them without using the whole SketchUp view, and focus all the rendering power in one place. Moving on, in the Thea tool window, we have the scene settings. This is a very convenient feature. It adds to the scene workflow that SketchUp has, that you can save different camera positions. But now you can use this dialog to save along camera parameters, display, the sky, the environment settings, and also the render engine that's being used. and this can be saved per scene. So if you have set this up for all your scenes, you can use the batch rendering tool and render each scene independently with different settings and camera and display settings. So now let's move on to lights. Let's go to an interior place. Okay. Lights can be added through the Thea tool window in the Light tab. Let me start. Okay. Lights in Thea are interactive. Let me create a spotlight. Change its intensity. So the nice feature that Thea for SketchUp has is that you can double click on any light and you can move it. You can move it in space interactively. So I could move this light. Excuse me. If I double click, I can grab the target of this light and move it around while having interactivity in the engine. And also there are selections, control points for the hot spot and the fall off, and they're all interactive. Let's see also the IS file. Let me add this. Okay. There is a selection, a drop down here with IS files that come along with Thea. You can select one and load it, and it will instantly be applied in the scene. And of course, this is controllable too with a control point of the light. So this is everything about lights. Let's move on to another topic, which is environment lighting. Thea for SketchUp uses SketchUp's sun, so I can adjust it from here interactively, always interactively. I can change the settings from here. And a very nice feature is the fact that I can use image-based lighting. And for that, I will use the rendering window. I will go to the environment tab. And from here, I will change to the IBL. And we can load an HDR map. Let me select one. This is not very good. Okay, this one. So a very nice feature that Thea for SketchUp has is the fact that you can line up the Thea sun with the sun that is captured inside the HDR map. So to do that, I can click on this button, and by changing to manual sun, I can move the Thea sun to the same place that the sun is in the HDR map, giving hard shadows. Maybe it's not the best example, this one, but you can use them both. Let me select a different one with the sun. Okay, this one. So it's a very convenient way to line up the Thea stand with the one on the HDR. It's a very nice feature. And moving on, I would like to show you a new feature that has been implemented in the latest version of Thea for SketchUp, and it's the fog, our new feature. Excuse me. So let me remove the sun IBL image. Okay, so now we have. So to enable fog in your scene, all you have to do is to select fog, the fog preset, and with this slider, select the Presto MC Engine. So with the fog density slider, I can add more more density, more fog in the scene. So it's simple as that. And apart from that, there's also a new material called the cloud preset, and it can be used on any geometry in the scene. So I could limit the area where the fog happens just by applying it to an object. Let me quickly create one. So to do that, I will I will create a new material. Let's call it fog. Open the Thea tool, select it from the list. Oh, sorry, I did not apply material. Okay, so now I can turn this material to the cloud preset. And when I get back here, I will start rendering. And all that needs to be done now is to change to the camera tab and select the cloud preset from the list. Fog, sorry. Excuse me. So right now, you can see that I have applied the fog material, the cloud material to the object, and I can control the density of the fog by using the opacity slider. The lower the opacity, of course, the lower the density of the material. Oh, sorry, I have both open. Yep. Okay. Okay, so moving to the next topic, which is materials. Materials in SketchUp, in Thea for SketchUp, can be created very easily just by adding a new material. Let's call this concrete. Sorry, I had this already. Concrete one, okay. So let's go to, so let's select this one. And let's apply it to this part of the scene. Okay. So what I can do right now to edit this material is by using the Thea tool window. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so after applying the material, I can select it with the Thea cursor, and I can change it from here. I can use the same texture in the PAM channel. Or I can even select different material preset, like saying that I would like to add some reflectance. I can switch to the plastic preset, increase the reflection of the material, and also add some roughness. And I control the material like that. But the other way of adding materials in a scene is by using Thea browser. I can navigate to the materials list. Let's select brick walls material for this one. Let's go with this one first. So I just double click on a thumbnail. It will be loaded inside SketchUp. And once loaded, I can apply it to any surface, just like that. So, apart from importing materials, it's also possible to change their appearance or edit them inside the material tab. All I have to do is to select it from the viewport, use the edit in material lab that will open the external material lab. And from here I can use the layering system. I can change the material to whatever I like. And after pressing the accept button, it will be loaded inside the scene, excuse me. Now let me stop. Let's go to the exterior too. Okay. Now about the camera. Let me start rendering. If I would like to add depth of field inside this scene, I can do this by changing the F number of the camera. So if I use something like 1.0, you can already see that I have some depth of field. Let me go here. And I can place the focal point by using the set button that you see here. So I can focus place the focal point on this column or in any other place. So the other way of controlling depth of field, in case you don't want to mess with F number values, is the percentage. You can play with this parameter, set the focus to any point, and play with this slider. So moving on, we have full support for plugins like Scatter, Logwork, Sculpt, MS Physics, Fredo's Animator, and SketchUp Physics. Let's go in this scene and add some grass to this area. Let's use the short glass here for this one, and also the border. Okay. So if I now start rendering, it will take a little longer to collect all the instancing and models from the scene. Let me take out depth of field. Okay. So now, apart from the fact that we support Scatter, is the Logwork plugin. I would like, let me find one that I liked. Let's see, this one. Okay. Let me just add these three here. So as you can see, there's full support for lab over trees. So the next topic that I would like to go through is darkroom. So as I said earlier, darkroom is where all the rendering takes place. Production rendering, but you can also have interactive mode, but it's more convenient using it in the SketchUp view. So in order to produce a final rendering, so let me just go to a nicer point of view. Yeah, here. So to start production rendering, all I have to do is to uncheck the interactive mode, select the engine that I would like to use, give it some samples. Once reached, they will terminate rendering. And by pressing the play button, I can start rendering in high resolution, the one that I have defined for each scene. I'm using bucket rendering, but I can also use progressive rendering by unchecking this parameter. It's a matter of choice. At any time while working, I can do some post-processing. The first column is for the exposure of the render image. I can increase the ISO to get a brighter image. I can decrease the shutter speed to also increase brightness and also the F number. I can use the CRF function, which is camera response functions. which totally changed the way an image looks. So there are too many profiles, film profiles to select from. And of course, effect like vignette, I have it on right now. Also contrast and white balance. So back when I was saying that you can save via settings, environment settings, render settings, camera settings, everything, you can save them per scene. So the feature I was talking about was the batch rendering tool. The batch rendering tool starts from the Thea rendering window, and it will display all the scenes that have been created inside SketchUp. It holds the parameters that you have specified, and you can select every scene that you would like to render. And when I hit Start Batch Render, it will ask me, yeah, it doesn't. Okay. It will ask me to give a name, so they will be created with the name that you state, and they will be saved based on the name that you have given for the scene. So with these are the basic stuff about Thea for SketchUp. I have finished my presentation, so if you have any question, I will be happy to answer.
Yes, thank you, George. That looked amazing. Wonderful, beautiful renderings. And we're sticking around a few more minutes. If you have questions, ask away. This is your chance. And
Okay.
in the meantime, I want to remind you that if you're free on September 13th, you can join the Converge 2017 conference in LA. So if you're in the area or you want to be, have an excuse to go in the area, you can register to the conference and type in Novedge as a coupon code, and you can get in for free. So tell your friends, your colleagues, or your boss, and join this event that will, have you spend a day learning about the latest 3D technologies, and there's going to be a lot of people to share experience with, and it's all about design. So why not? You can get in for free and enjoy. So there are no questions so far. So I think it's all clear. I actually had a couple of questions that I replied to. Somebody was asking about a free trial, and I already gave them the link to the Novedge page where they can find the free trial. They can go on the product page at Novedge, Thea Render for SketchUp, and there's a tab for trial. So take advantage of it. Enjoy. Yeah.
There's no time limit, so they can use it for as long as they like. For the trial, I mean.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question that just came in. There are a couple. Are there any preset assets for Thea, such as furniture, light fixture, tables, etc.?
There are some from CG Axis. The list is not very long like the materials. We mainly provide many collections, many material collections.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Have you been hearing me now? Can you hear me now, George? Okay. There's another question that I was asked. That somebody was asking if you have a reseller in the Netherlands. And my answer is that Novedge can resell worldwide. So if you want any product, any Solidaris product, come visit Novedge, novedge.com, and you can buy it from us. Best web price guarantee. You can always go home feeling happy that you got the best deal out there. So I hope you'll visit us. And that was the last questions. I think we lost the sound for a little bit, but
Yeah.
here we go. Okay, so let me take the screen back, and if you have more questions, we'll be linger for a few seconds. Let me switch to my slides. So let's see. I will still. Okay, there's another question. Exporting file options. Are there many other? Oh, okay. Hold on. Two questions. Are there any other plugins in which you are going to cooperate, like Sculpt?
Sculpt is already being supported.
Okay.
It has full support from Thea.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And what about exporting file options? JPEG, PDF, etc.?
There is support for PSD files with support for any channels that you have enabled while producing your final rendering. And all these will be transferred in layers inside Photoshop. And of course, I think there is support for EXR, HDR, PNG.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think, wait, question. Okay, that they're thanking us for the answer. And I want to thank you all today for attending. And I want to remind everyone to visit our page at novedge.com, where you can find Thea for SketchUp, but also Thea for Rhino, Thea for Fusion, Thea for Cinema 4D, Thea for Blender, Thea for 3ds Max. You get the gist of it. And we can resell Thea worldwide. So wherever you are, we can assist you. And mark your calendar for Converge 2017 on September 13. You can be a guest of Novedge if you use the coupon code Novedge when you register. Converge is in LA. And check out the Novedge blog for information about the event, and tell your friends, colleagues, and your boss too. Remember that next week we'll have a webinar on working remotely with Vectorworks. And to rewatch today's webinar or previous ones, check out our Novedge YouTube and Vimeo channels, our webinar playlists as webinars for every software taste. Thanks again for joining us today. Thank you so much, George, and looking forward to...
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day or night, everybody. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.